In this lesson, we'll add kind of a larger plant to the living room. And so for this one, I'm going to go ahead and combine two kind of different types of shapes and show you how you can do that. So we'll go ahead and go just maybe to the top view here. And I'm going to drop in first a cube. And we'll drop it in here kind of in this corner. So I'm going to go ahead and create a box there. So go ahead and just create kind of a box right in here. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and also create a cylinder. And kind of roughly in the same area. Okay, so let's go into our perspective. And these are both kind of too big, so I'm going to go ahead and just scale the box down, maybe something like that, and then scale the cylinder down. Alright, now we have two different shapes here. We have a box shape and we have a cylinder shape, and we want to create something that combines and blends these two types of shapes together. We also want to be able to smooth this, okay, and have kind of nice corners here, and we want it to blend in to a nice circular shape up here with no kind of dents or anything like that. So how do we do that? Well, the first thing that I'm going to do is go ahead and dial down my segments here. So let's go ahead and take this down to 1. Okay. And now what I want to do is, if I smooth this right now, thinking about just the cube, if I smooth this right now, it's going to be very blobby, almost a sphere. So what we want to do is have the resolution along those corners for those to be nice and sharp, right? So let's go ahead and add that. So if we add those two divisions there, two divisions there, and two divisions there, we now can move these apart. So if we go ahead and convert this to an editable poly, okay, and if we go ahead and select that loop and move it out here, let's go ahead and move it out to this side. Go ahead and do the same thing here. Okay, we'll do the same thing up here. Move it out to this side. So we're doing this sort of, getting those edges out nice and tight so that everything will be nice and sharp, right? Well, that's great for the cube, okay, but what about for the cylinder? We don't want any sort of edges to be coming up along here to actually modify the shape, because if we had these edges coming up along each one of these points, it's not going to look like a nice round cylinder. It's going to have these facets on there. So what we want to do is look at the resolution that's now there on this cube, right? So we've got 12 basically going around if you count all of the little points in there. I'm going to go ahead and let me just delete these polygons up here. Right, so we started out with basically 1, 2, 3, 4, but now we've added 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 there. So what we want to do is on this cylinder, we want to match that up initially. So I'm going to go into the top view here, and I'm going to create 12 sides. Okay. Now one of the other things that I want to do is I want to make sure that there is a line pointing to each one of these corners. So I'm going to take this and just kind of rotate that around. So basically you've got a flat side facing each flat side there. And we can modify this and kind of move it in the position there if we want to. So you can see that there's basically a line facing right here. Alright. Okay, I'm going to take the cap segments down to nothing. Okay, down to 1. And so now I want to kind of combine these together. And I'm going to go ahead and just scale both of these down a bit. Move this down a little. So basically we want to blend this together. So the first thing we need to do is attach these. So I'm going to go ahead and just convert this to an editable poly. Go ahead and delete this bottom polygon here. Alright. And now we want to attach these together. I'm going to go ahead and just scale this down as well. Okay, so to attach these, again, we'll go to Edit Geometry, Attach, and I'll just attach that cube. So now they're one piece. But we still need to create the geometry between here and here. So to do that, simply select both of these borders. So I'll select that border, Control select this border, and they should have the same number of segments there. So we're going to go down to Edit Borders, and we'll just bridge. And now you can see, I don't have any segments selected here, but you can see how the corner goes to this one, and then these two spread out and go to those. So at this point, these edges are creating kind of nice sharp edges, and it blends into up here where these edges are actually part of that circle, which is what we want. You can go ahead and create some segments there if you want to do that. We could taper things, so we could maybe bow it out a little bit, or actually kind of bow it in a little bit, which is kind of neat. Alright, so you can do a lot of things with this bridge, so it's really neat. If you were to go in and leave that geometry out and do the same thing, and then go in and afterwards and add that geometry, the geometry is going to change the shape of your circle up here. So that's one of the reasons why we did it beforehand. Alright, so now let's go ahead and select some of these polygons and just kind of finish it out a little bit more. Okay, so we'll go ahead and just extrude that out just a little bit. Okay, let's go ahead and inset that just slightly. Okay, let's go ahead and select the polygon on top, and let's go ahead and extrude that in. Let's go ahead and apply that. We'll do another extrude all the way down, and then we can go ahead and kind of scale that in a little bit. And now if we take a look at this, when we smooth it, you can see that you get a nice sharp edge down here that blends into a perfectly round shape up at the top. So it's kind of a nice little detail there. Alright, so now let's go ahead and add another plant to this. I'm going to first just grab this polygon and I'm going to push this down a little bit more. And I'm going to go ahead and add another line of resolution in there just by going to select the ring, do connect, and I'll just drag this up towards the top there. Alright, so now what we want to do is add another plant in there. And this time we'll add a, let's go ahead and add, let me look and see what we've got here. I think we want to add this, I don't know if I can find it here, this sort of euphorbia, large succulent. Let's go ahead and add something like that. And feel free to add whatever you want, but I'm going to go ahead and add this right down in here. And we've got auto grid on. And you can see how enormous that is. So let's go ahead and change the values here. Go ahead and change that height way down. Okay. And go ahead and raise some of these values here. And we can modify our seed a little bit to get something that's a little bit different. Okay, and if we want to kind of rotate that around, we can, and just get something that looks kind of interesting here. You can change the size of that, you can change the density and the pruning and all that stuff. So you can see how that kind of changes things. That's kind of cool. Go ahead and maybe rotate that around so it's not really penetrating into the wall. And there you've got kind of a nice large plant. And we can remember, go ahead and turn this to canopy never, and then you'll always be able to kind of see it there. Alright, so it's kind of a cactus, I guess. Alright, so that's a couple of ways that we can add just kind of an interesting pot there, and also the foliage to go along with it. So in the next lesson, we're going to add another piece of artwork here that just kind of uses a neat little feature called a section spline. And we'll use that with kind of a familiar piece of geometry, so you won't want to miss that. We'll go ahead and do that in the next lesson.